Vanakkam, Namaskar, greetings. In this session, around 20 minutes, I am going to narrate about Kali Yuga beginning and the chronological inseparability proved by inscriptions, both stone, copper plate and other metals. I am Dr.M.L.Raja, an eye surgeon, and I completed diploma in archaeology and epigraphy and post-graduation in history. I am doing research on the chronology of our nation, beloved nation, motherland, Bharat, as a director, AVINASH, Academy on Vibrant National Arts and Scientific Heritage. These are all my contact numbers, my mail ID, and my website. First of all, the inscriptions dated in Kali Yuga, what many scholars thought, it may be less than 10. And another conclusion they made that there was no uniform era followed throughout Bharat. But I have found out more than 827 inscriptions distributed throughout Bharat and abroad also that were dated in Kali Yuga. This is Aihole. This is Kurumatur, Kerala inscription. Aihole is from Karnataka. It mentions Kali days, number of days in Kali Yuga beginning, from Kali Yuga beginning as 14,51,260. It is a Sanskrit inscription written in Tamil Grantha. And this is Odisha inscriptions, Kali Yuga dated 4,958 and 4,959. This is the famous Nidhampur copper plate inscription mentioned by our beloved doctor. He mentioned this Nidhampur copper plate inscription of Bhaskar Varma of Assam. It mentioned the genealogy of Bhaskar Varma from Mahabharata War. It mentioned Bhagadatta. It mentions Bhagadatta who fought with Vijaya. Vijaya is another name for Arjuna. And Drona Parva and Vedavyasa mentioned that a full adhyaya that fight with Bhagadatta and Arjuna. So it mentions that from Bhagadatta, there are 16 regnal periods of 16 kings and 3,000 years where the names were not mentioned. So it mentions the period from Mahabharata to up to the period of Bhaskar Varma. Dupi copper plate and Nalanda clay plate mentions the same genealogy. What is the period of Bhaskar Varma? That you can refer through Harsha Charita in the 7th chapter written by Bana Bhatta, the chief minister of Harsha Siladitya Pushyabudhi dynasty of Sthaneswar. It mentions that the Hamsavega, the messenger from Bhaskar Varma, met Harsha Siladitya at his early period of rule, and Hamsavega detailed the genealogy of Bhaskar Varma. In that also Bhagadatta name is mentioned, and also Huan Swang and his disciple based on Huan Swang mentioned that Bhaskar Varma was contemporary to Harsha Siladitya of Pushyabudhi dynasty. So his period is around 610. So from Mahabharata to 610 common era, there elapsed 3,000 years and regnal periods of 16 kings. This is another inscription from Bangladesh, Batara inscription, issued by Gaur dynasty King Govinda Kesavadeva. It mentioned again Mahabharata, 4,151 years from the era of the first king of Pandava dynasty. So what doctor has mentioned is exactly correct. North, east is not, it is east, but it has a excellent and strong connectivity with our land. So it is our part and parcel of our land. I thank ASA for using this photocopy. This is Anamalai inscription in Tamil Nadu, a Pandya inscription mentioned the date as Kali 3871, issued during the period of Jadila Parantaka Pandya. This is another inscription from Tirupparangundram, the famous Muruga temple. It dates 3864. I thank ISA for using this estamp page photocopy. This is Gramam inscription of Chola Empire. Parandaka Chola Chakravarti, Kali 4004. It is in the round, it is mentioned as in ancient Tamil letters as Kali 4044. It also mentions Kali dates as 14,77,037. Even you cannot change even a single day. And this is Sri Mushnam inscription. It is also issued during the grandson of Parandaka Chola Chakravarti, Sundar Chola, Kali 4060. This is in Jammu Kashmir, Bhuvaneshwari inscription, Kali 4530. During the period of Zian-ul-Abidin, the Sultan of Kashmir. And this is a famous inscription from southern Thailand, Kali 4332. In Sanskrit, I thank the author and publisher for using this photocopy. And this is an Upatur stone inscription. It is dated as Divi Sagasra Kalau Prapte. That means Kali 2000. That is a photocopy of the inscription. And this is a Shiva temple and photocopy of the inscription, eastern page of the inscription. And there is this is an inscription issued by Trinetra Pallava of Kanji. He issued a copper plate. In that it is also mentioned Kali 2000. There are village records recorded by Colonel Mackenzie. It mentions 1986 Kali. That records are available in Telugu University. So this is an Alathur inscription from Kongu region of my Tamil Nadu state. It mentions Kali 2437 before 700 BCE. So with that, I am going to the main topic. First, inscriptions that were dated in Vikrama and Salivagana Saka. There are more than 10,000 inscriptions that were dated, 20,000 inscriptions that were dated in Vikrama era and Kaliyuga. Both are mentioned in many of the inscriptions. For example, Yadar Museum inscription of Gujarat and Jaisalmer inscription of Rajasthan. It mentions between Yudhishthira, Jayapudya Yudhishthira Saka to Vikrama is 3044 years. You cannot change even a single year. Vikrama to Salivagana is 3179 years. And there are many inscriptions that mention Salivagana Saka and also Kaliyuga, both in Vijayanagar Empire and any dynasty. You can see Paparambakam, Bhavani and Ayodhya. In Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh, there is an inscription that mentions both Kali era and Salivagana era. More than 40,000 inscriptions are there dated in Salivagana Saka mentioning the dynasty and kings. So from Vikrama and Salivagana we can say when Kaliyuga began. So Vikrama, because Vikrama born in 3000 Kali, it was mentioned Bhavishya Purana. And Jyotirvidaparanam mentioned that he was a contemporary to Vikramaditya and he started writing the text in 3068 Kali. And Salivagana Saka began in 78 Common Era. It was mentioned by many ancient astronomical texts. So we cannot alter. So it is definitely 3179 and 3044. It is proved by inscriptions and text also. And this is inscriptions of various dynasties. From ancient to modern, I mentioned, that is Pallava, I mentioned 2000 Kali. Western Chalukya, Bhatami, Aihole, I mentioned, it date is after Mahabharata War, Kali 3735 and Saka era 556. And Kamarupa, that Nidhanpur I have mentioned. And Pandya dynasty I have shown, Aanemale and Tirupurangundram, Kali 3871, 3864. There are inscriptions in Pandya dynasty that mentions the year in Saka. So we can definitely know which period belongs to Jadila Parandaka Pandya belongs. In the same way, Pandya's son-in-law, who is a Chera king, Kulasekara Ravivarma, he issued an inscription that was in Tamil Nadu, in Pandrutti, Tiruvadigai, Veerattaneswara temple. It mentioned Kali date as 4414 and Saka era 1235. That I have not mentioned, but it is there. I have a photocopy. I visited that temple. And this is Chola temple. I have mentioned Kali 4044, 4060, 4080 and 4083. There are more than 6 inscriptions that issued by Chola dynasty that mention their date in Saka era. So we can definitely know what is the period belonged to Chola. So from that we can calculate when Kaliyuga began. And this is Gaur dynasty, which I have shown. This is Kadamba of Goa. More than 10 inscriptions are there. Kadamba, who ruled Goa and other adjacent areas. Kali 4248 to 4357. And Hoysala, who ruled the Mysore area, southern part of Karnataka and Kongu region of Tamil Nadu and part of Chera, Chola kingdom. There are more than 10 inscriptions that mentioned Kali date from 4336 to 4442. These two dynasties issued many inscriptions that was mentioned in Salivagana and Sakara. So their period we can conclude from that Kali Yuga beginning we can calculate. And Kakatiya, who ruled the Telangana region, Warangal area, and Rudradeva is the last emperor of that Kakatiya dynasty. He issued a inscription that is Kali dated 4420, and many inscriptions of Kakatiya dynasty issued with Salivagana and Saga date. So that also it can prove. Then coming to Vijayanagara, the famous Vijayanagara Empire, more than 60 inscriptions that were mentioned Kali date 4443 to 4839, and nearly 50 inscriptions are dated in Salivagana Saga name itself. So Vijayanagara Empire period we know strongly. So from that we can calculate when Kali Yuga began. And Tanjavur Maratha people who ruled Tanjavur area, they are the close relative of Chhatrapati Shivaji. So their period we know based on Shivaji's period. More than 40 inscriptions are there. In Tanjavur Pragadiswara temple, you can see many number of inscriptions dated in Kali Yuga. Kali 4784 to 4993. And Mysore Udayar inscriptions, who ruled Mysore and Kongu region of Tamil Nadu. More than 15 inscriptions are there with Kali Yuga date 4780 to 4876. There are inscriptions in Saga era also for them. And Mughal, it's an important inscription. In Tamil Nadu, it mentions Delhi Sultan, Delhi King Alamgir, Aurangzeb, and its date is Kali 4800 and Saga era 1621. We know the period of Aurangzeb. So based on that, we know when Saga era started, 78 Common Era. So from that we can strongly, not even variation of single year, we can calculate Kali Yuga beginning. And the Sultan of Kashmir, I have shown Bhuvaneshwari inscription in Srinagar Taluk, Srinagar district, Kali 4530. I have shown photocopy. Then Bijapur Sultan, Ibrahim Shah. We know his period, Kali Yuga 4717 and Saga era 1540. And the most important thing is, it is an inscription in Nalgonda district of Telangana. It mentioned 3 era. It was issued by Raja Srinivasa Rao Bahadur. So it mentions Kali Yuga date 4989, Saga 1810. It is not only that, the most important thing is it mentioned Hijri era. We know when Hijri began. We cannot alter. If you want to alter, you have to alter the Saudi Arabian chronology also. So Hijri 1306. Strong proof. There is an inscription. It was published by AVINASH, Archaeological Reports of India. Published by ASI and Epigraphy Directorate. So we have proofs. And British, who ruled Chennai around area in early part of 1700s. And they constructed a Madras observatory under the supervision of Michael Topping, and his period is 1792 Common Era. And there in that Madras observatory, 2 inscriptions are there, one Tamil and one Telugu, both mentioned Kali date 4893. And Dutch governor Bill Singh, in Nagapattanam, Ishwara temple, there is an inscription mentioning Dutch governor's name on Kali Yuga 4875 and Saga era 1695. And French ruler, French governor Léonce Logier, in Villeneuve, there is an Ishwara temple, and it was issued by him. The Kali date is 4982. So far I have shown more than 22 dynasties and kings inscriptions. Dynasties, but inscriptions is 827. So based on Vikrama, I am taking only inscription. Previous part is all literature. From Vikrama Samvat, present year is 2080. If you see Rashtra Panchanga or any almanac or Government of India's mentioning 2080th year, we based on Bhavashya Purana, Jyotirvidaparanam and also Rajasthan Gujarat inscription, we know that Vikrama Samvat, more than 20,000 inscriptions, Vikrama Samvat began in 57. So BCE. So 2080th year, based on that we can calculate when Kaliyuga began. In the same way, Salivagana Saka, present year is 1945th year. So based on that also we can calculate. More than 40,000 inscriptions are there dated in Salivagana Saga by various kings and dynasties whose period we know from other sources, other inscriptions and literature. So this all 19 dynasties I want to show. This is first, it's a Chalukya, 3735 Aihole inscription. Chara king also there is inscription. So there is chronological compatibility not only with Kaliyuga, all these 19 dynasties. Among themselves also there is chronological compatibility is there. That I can prove. Anybody, if you go through that inscription, you can easily understand. So it all proves that Kaliyuga began in 3101 BCE, current year. 31012 is elapsed. So that is the conclusion we come. And another thing I want to prove, there is chronological inseparability. That also I will prove with this one slide. This is the Salukya genealogy from Pulikesi II, who issued Aihole 3735 Kali inscription. And this is Pandya, Maravarman, who is the father of Jadila Parandaka Pandya, who issued Anamalai 3871 and Tirupparangundram 3864 Kali. And Maravarman defeated the fifth king from Pulikesi, Kirtivarman II of Chalukya, in a war at Venbai. And he also defeated the Pallava dynasty, Nandavarma II, who was in turn friend of Dandi Durga of Rashtrakuta. This Dandi Durga in turn defeated Kirtivarma II. That was the end of Chalukya dynasty and beginning of Rashtrakuta dynasty. And this is Chola dynasty. How they are related with the other thing? Aditya, one son of Vijayalaya, he defeated Nirupatunga Aparajita. That was the end of Pallava dynasty and beginning of the expansion of Chola dynasty. And Parandaka Chola Chakravarti's son Rajaditya fought with Krishna III in Takkolambar. So see, all 5 dynasties, not only 5. This western king, they are also related to Pandya king. Maravarman, he defeated western king Sri Purusha. But what happened after? Maravarman's son Jadila Parandaka married western king Sri Purusha's daughter. So there is not only martial conflict, there is immediately followed marital relationship. So all these historical events of Bharat, there we can see there is chronological inseparability. You cannot move any date as an independent of other dates. You have to move either en masse, because all historical dates are dependent on other historical dates. We cannot separately fix any date, including date of Mahabharata War. From Kali 2000 to Kali 4982, there are more than 827 inscriptions varying during the period of nearly 3000 years. 3000 years, that date is continuously existed in our nation. One thing existing for 3000 years continuously by throughout nation. That is not an ordinary thing. We cannot just omit that. By almost all dynasties, all rulers and senapatis, heads of mat and common people also. And in almost all languages of Bharat and on almost all scripts. And throughout Bharat and also abroad. You see, in Bharat, from Kashmir to Tamil Nadu and Kerala, from Gujarat to Assam, all states, I am giving only important because I cannot fill up all 827 in that small figure. And this is Thailand, southern Thailand. I have shown an inscription. So, I have compiled initially 436 inscriptions only. My second book will come. So, that book can be available in Amazon.in, Flipkart. Name of the book is Kali Yuga Inscriptional Evidence. Now, I am coming to the conclusion. So, through these 827 inscriptions, we strongly prove 2 things. That is, Kali Yuga began in 3101 BCE, current, or 3102 BCE. Elapsed, it is also called Jayapiriya Yudhishthira Saka. And the current Kali year is 5124 and 5123 years elapsed. And second thing what we prove is there exists a chronological inseparability between all historical events of our great nation Bharat. Hence, the date of any one historical event of Bharat cannot be fixed independent of other historical events. These two things I want to strongly conclude with your permission. Nandri, Dhanyavadaga, thank you.